Good morning, BJ. It's so wonderful to be here. This is Robin from everythingfallbrook.org. So excited to include you in our artist tour.
Well, thank you. I am BJ Lane, and you've come to my studio today. So the very first time that I've had it open for the public through this whole coronavirus thing, and I don't know if you know much about me, but I have done my work for more than 50 years. Discovered at 7 years old that I wanted to be an artist by watching another artist. No one in my family was an artist, so I kind of did it from scratch, and I'm still learning. So welcome. This is the gallery part of my studio. And you'll see I do a lot of different types of artwork. This is leftovers from a show that I did at Vista Library in Vista here in California. And this was a show about my family, and there was poetry with it, and it was right as the pandemic kind of closed. My show was locked in the library for 3 months. And so this is some of the portraits of my family and my little girl who has autism, and her sister, and my husband and myself, and some of her friends as she was growing up. She's going to be 30 this year, so there's lots of pictures of her. And here is another picture of her and her growth pattern and growing up into an adult. And she looks more like kind of in between these two right now. And this was Tammy when she was taking horse therapy. And
So this picture that you did, that's her years of growing, that's really incredible. Have you done that for anybody else or another person, or just your daughter?
Just my daughter, this one.
So if somebody wanted one of these, could they order this?
Absolutely.
That's
I have
really beautiful.
I can make prints, or I can even do, I do commissions for people. They see something or they think of something in their past that they really want.
And this is a self-portrait?
Yes, that's a self-portrait.
That's really beautiful. Wow, so let's look over here.
Yeah. So this is my oldest daughter, and again, I do a lot of plein air pieces. So that means I sit outside and paint, and she came with me one day and she read, and I painted her in front of a house, and went out, and I was with some other artists that were painting.
Now, right here, what is this? Tell us about this
one. This one is my mother and father, and my oldest sister, and myself as a baby.
Now, did you paint that from a photograph?
I did, from an old photograph that I had, old black and white. And if you are here and up close, you'll see, even though it's black and white, it's very colorful grays. There's purple grays and green grays in there.
It's almost like a sepia tone.
Yes, well, I kind of am what you'd call a colorist. So I'm actually very masterful with color, and very masterful with shape too. So it gives me a lot of ways to express myself, from sculptures, which you'll see in my back room where I work, to black and whites, to the colorful. You can see even a picture from long ago up here hanging above my door. This one was done with airbrush, and so I've learned, over 50 years you learn a lot of different medium, and this was done with airbrush and acrylic, where some of the other ones are done with, like this one of the puzzle that you got here, this was done first with charcoal and then with acrylic and cut apart, whereas the painting of me here, self-portrait over in the corner, that's done with the paint sticks, and you can see how I hold them in my lap and how I cover myself so I don't get the paint on me. It's yeah. So that's one of my favorite medium, more current medium. But then, right below you can see there's sculptures that I've done in ceramic, and there's one, the little ballerina is done with paper clay and wire, and this one over here is sculptures that are done with self-drying clay that I use. So it's all a process of playing. and learning. So the one portrait, self-portrait here in the front is pastel. So you can see it's a soft pastel. So this is encaustic, and it is a medium, a very ancient medium, that where you actually use wax. It's beeswax, and I also put some paraffin wax in here, and it's got pigment in it that you mix up, and you have to apply it hot. So I would take the hot wax and put it down. I use little containers on a hot pad, and so it would be wet, and a brush, and you get, you know, the background, and then I would scrape off the top of the wax as it was starting to dry or get cool, and put in all of these different, you know, three-dimensional kind of feel to it. So
The textures are just standing right out of the
yes,
canvas. It's really beautiful.
and then I used some different beads and different things inside of it. I did several of these pieces at the LA County Fair several years ago. They were trying to show, before the Industrial Revolution, what kind of art was being made. So this is what they used on the Egyptian sarcophaguses to keep, and I think the boats, there were some boats that they actually painted encaustics on, and the Vikings, you know, and that's why a lot of the colors are still there, because the wax kind of keeps the colors in it. And so anyway, it's got also like a tree sap type of a material in it, so that it doesn't just, you know, melt after you put it on, and it kind of sticks together. It's more rigid. So I did several of them. There's one here, and there's one here. I went a little more abstract with these because it's a harder medium to really control, and between each layer you have to use a heat gun so that it all sticks together. So it's a little complicated. So now that you've seen my little gallery space, this is my working space, the second room of my studio. And boy, it has a lot of art in it that I work on at the same time.
I'm so excited. I feel like I'm going into a candy store.
You are. This is, instead of the little tray that you saw in the self-portrait with all my paint sticks, this is the paint sticks that I work with now. So you can see, you know, it's I didn't clean it up too much for you.
I didn't want you to. I'm so glad we're seeing you in the raw.
There you go. The building here is in process. This one is the Grand Traditions here in Fallbrook. I went, and this is what I end up as a plein air piece, sitting out in front of the building, and then I bring it back home with photographs and finish it up here.
Oh,
So,
I can't wait to see the finished product, but boy, the process is gorgeous.
thank you.
And then tell me about this one.
Oh, this one is a painting that I'm just so inspired with. This one group that I'm working with, the Quad, and we've done several women. We've created several women. I sculpted the heads for most all of the women, all but I think three or four of them. And so I felt like I should, you know, I just wanted to capture them in a different way. And so I started painting them. I put a flag behind them and then kind of made it more of an abstract flag. So that's, you know, this here is where I actually did the faces. I created the faces. I'd start with a styrofoam head and then put paper clay. I bought a man here because at one point I was thinking about doing Theodore Roosevelt, and I never did. So I don't know who he's going to be. Maybe someday he'll be somebody.
Teddy would be a good one to do, though. We like Teddy.
Yes.
And
So-
look at these cars. Now, my husband's going to
yes.
he's going to want me to buy him one of these, I'm sure.
Well,
He's a car guy, and he
these I
loves the
have-
old cars.
I have several prints that are available, both online through my store, but I have some that I actually have here in my studio.
Now, tell us what's your fascination with the cars.
Well, again, it happened because I was observing my world, And I used to take one of my girls to Pasadena for dance, and that's why I have all these ballerinas, because I got influenced by ballet. But in the process of going back and forth from Pasadena to Covina, where my other daughter was a gymnast, I would see the cars and the freeways, and so I started paying freeways, and then I thought, you know, it'd be fun to put a little car in there. So I went, but I don't really know that much about cars. Even though I love them, I don't know what, you know. So I said to my husband, hey, you know, you feel like going to some car shows? And so that's what started us going to car shows. And these are all from different car shows that I've been at. And actually the big ones here on the wall, I think almost all of these, except for the bottom right one, the Chevy on the right, the blue Chevy on the right there, yeah. That, the one next to it, yeah, there you go. That one was a different, I think that was at the Pomona, I forget exactly.
And you
what it
have
was.
quite a few. I see kind of a stack down here.
Yes, I do. That one right there on the bottom, that is
Husband's favorite cars are VWs.
Volkswagen, right.
He has
And-
one to this day.
Yeah. I even did a piece for Karma, for the Karma car, did a piece for them to kind of help them promote their car, and gave them a gift. A
And
print.
look at this one right here. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
So they were in ballet?
Yes, my oldest one really got pretty far in ballet, and so I learned, you know, about Baryshnikov, and this is a painting of him and the woman that he danced with, which at the moment, off the top of my head, I can't recall. But
okay.
you know, I go into her studio and
Well, there, you know, it's so lifelike. I mean, their expressions, and it's beautiful.
thank you.
And look at these little pieces down here
Yeah,
for
now
another
this
type of
is-
medium.
Yeah, this one I actually did at the Fallbrook Wine and Bite Art Walk.
Oh,
I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
and is that with
and,
clay?
It's with paper clay on the top of wood, and I made some prints of them. I have not yet bronzed them, but I have a couple of pieces that are going to be really fantastic when they get
Oh,
bronzed.
that's gorgeous.
So, yeah,
That's
this was
so-
from the
I love the
Nutcracker.
colors.
My daughter was in the Nutcracker a lot, and so I was able to go in and sketch in the studio, and they let me go into the dress rehearsal. And nowadays, I even have gotten into the North County Academy of Art, which is, you know, a local dance academy, and they let me sketch.
Now you got
So-
all your supplies. Like this is.
Oh, I know.
So
it's
people,
fun
this
stuff.
is a real artist. She is the real deal. Look at this studio. Wow.
You've got the skeleton.
I was just
in the
gonna
back
say you got your
waving.
skeleton and all your little doodads and
Doodads.
your models and your
Yeah.
tricks up your sleeve.
That's it.
Wow, look at that. Well, this is exciting. My boss is gonna be really happy. And you can see all this really neat stuff.
That one is
Now that's
a mixed
gorgeous.
media one there. That's paper clay, or yeah, it's paper clay and wire and airbrush. I actually use
Wow, look at
spray
her.
paint.
Well, she just jumps right off the canvas, literally.
Yeah, she does.
Or should I say she springs?
These are watercolors of my daughters. This was in 1990. My middle daughter and her little curtsy done in watercolor. So, and here's my older daughter. 1989, I did her first. She was into tap at the time, and she's my dancer. She's the one that ended up being my dancer. And of course, then I had to do a painting of my youngest too, and she was little because I thought, oh, can't miss her. So this was Tammy, and I did this, started this out with oil pastel and finished it up with paint sticks. So it has, you know, some different things in it. Again, a different style, a different medium. This is all done with pen and ink. So here's here's some of my little sculptures that I've done. This was aluminum, one of the first cast pieces that I did. And up here is some portraits of Tammy when she was around 16 years old. I carry clay around in my hand and sculpt her to keep myself calm when she would have her
really beautiful.
problems. So,
And look at all these beautiful pieces.
this is my husband and our first two children. I did a little sculpture of them. I decided early on when I had kids that I needed to stop watercolor for a while because watercolor took a lot of attention. So my husband encouraged me to do something else. He says, what about sculpting? You know, what about airbrush? What about something else? So, and then this is, again, this is my very first ceramic that I did. I kind of went all out and did, you know, a dancer.
Oh, I think they look beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, these are paintings of sculptures that I did in plein air at the Huntington Gardens. A couple of different sculptures. Sat in the sculpture garden and painted with my paint sticks on paper this time. And then beside, you see my trip to Europe. I actually got to go and see the Eiffel Tower, and oh my goodness, lovely, lovely.
So BJ, this has just been wonderful. I've enjoyed seeing your art, and I feel so honored to be in your gallery, in your studio. And I just like to tell people, always give a little tip or something. So if you had something to tell other artists or aspiring artists, what would be the advice that you give them?
What I would say to you is keep learning. Every day, keep learning, keep drawing, keep exploring your world and learning new materials. Just get better every day.